All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow guests.
It's Mr. Solis.
All right, sir. We are back. The last time we saw each other was at the very beginning of September.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's just about the beginning of October. What a difference a month makes. Yeah. How are you, Jack?
I've been doing well. Very busy in terms of podcasting. This is, I want to say, the 5th episode in 3 days.
Wow. Busy indeed.
Because I did, let me think back. I did an episode Sunday with Gio on our section of the podcast covering K-pop. Then on Monday, we recorded normal podcast. And then right after, I recorded one... I recorded an episode talking about the Phillies and their 2-game series against the Cardinals. And then today in the morning, I recorded one for the Eagles and their game this week. And here we are today to cover wrestling.
Wrestling? And where did it happen, Jack? Where was Extreme Rules held?
In Philadelphia.
Wow. What a Philly cheese weekend you've had.
Honestly, and then today... I obviously, the way I'm doing it for this, I'm waiting for the full series to be done, but the Phillies played today again against Atlanta, and they beat them. And so here's to whenever that series ends, there's going to be an episode on that.
Nice. It's that time of year. It's October.
Yeah, and like I was telling you before we started recording, a very busy final period for the podcast is that's when all the content starts pumping out.
Goodness gracious, and where's your dad to give me the hardest time? We are 3 months away, Jack, from me having your Christmas gift. You have had my Christmas gift for almost an entire year.
Yeah, and luckily for you, he's out with Mom at the grocery store, so he's not here to tell you. But he'll probably be back by the time we're done recording, maybe, and he might give you some flack for it.
It's well-deserved. If he does, it's absolutely well-deserved.
Oh, man. But how about you, sir? How have you been since the last time we've been?
I've been okay. The year is plugging along. We got a new math teacher. She started today. So the team is almost complete, and my Infinity Gauntlet is almost back to where it was in August. We're just in the process of hiring an art teacher. And that's been okay. I mean, school's been all right. It's been busy. I have been mandated to take a day off. Most everyone else in the admin team has, for one reason or another. So my principal said, Mr. Solis, you haven't. And I said, yeah, we got too much stuff to do. But I've been mandated to take a day off. So that day is happening next week.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well deserved, if I'll say, sir. You're always working hard.
Thank you very much. To telegraph what I might do, there's a new art museum in Orange County that I just might check out. Interesting.
Yeah, that's always a fun thing to do. Mm-hmm. I think I remember in high school, I think it was our in a sense summer homework before getting to into AP Art 2D for my senior year. We had to go visit a museum, and funny enough, a friend of mine and Dom both also applied to that class. So the three of us went to I think it was LACMA, and we just walked around the entire time looking at different artworks and.
I love LACMA. I should go. I live so close to it. But, we just don't have the time or the energy.
I feel you on that, sir. Speaking of time, I had completely forgotten that this pay-per-view that we're covering today was even coming around until I saw it mentioned, I think, the day before.
What are you talking about, Jack? Haven't you seen all the clues dropped throughout WWE television the last couple of weeks with the QR codes and the cryptic videos and the letters and the flyers and the signs and the people in costume and the really wild underground advertisement?
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of it, especially because of the amount of work a lot of people put into deciphering that stuff.
It's almost like overkill.
Yeah, I definitely feel on that. It was like seeing, and not only that, but like seeing the levels that people were willing to like reach to try and what's the word I want to use? Dang
Like
it.
solve it or
Yeah, but like seeing like
it.
the way they were reaching just to try and prove their point of like,
Oh, I
and like
got you.
a lot of the absurd takes that people were having are like, wait, but look at this, and then they would like reach and be like, see, this proves my point. You're just like, that's the biggest reach that I've seen. But then again, it's wrestling, and that's the foundations of this whole.
So I was not as caught off guard. I was looking forward to it because I thought we were going to get some kind of answer out of Extreme Rules.
Yeah, and it was definitely an event that had a lot to it. You know, a lot of build to it. I think the biggest thing to it was just how much fans were more, in a sense, excited for it because of the card's comparison to last year's card. Where
You mean last year's Extreme Rules card with almost no Extreme Rules?
yeah, where only the main event was an Extreme Rules match.
I hear you, Jack, and I'll raise you this. Not only I think were people excited about the plethora of match stipulations that this year had, but there's a lot of stories going into this one. Like a lot of compelling and interesting stories.
Yeah.
Karrion Kross's business with Drew McIntyre. Like if you ask, like, what match, Jack, were you the most excited about going into this show?
I think the two I was most excited for was Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch going against Gunther, Kaiser, and Vinci in their trios match, and then Bailey and Bianca in the ladder match solely because I was like, I wonder if they have Bianca drop it here. Like that was my main theme. Was like, are they gonna give it to Bailey right off the bat? Is there gonna be some type of interference to protect Bianca, to protect Bailey? You know.
Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, the matches I was most interested in were the Karrion Kross Strat match because I'm thinking, does Drew win because he kind of needs it, or does Kross win? He needs it more. You know what I mean? Kross just coming back, he needs a big old win. But Drew just lost that big old Clash at the Castle match, so something's got to give. So I'm like, how's this going to end? And then the Finn Balor Edge match, just because again you got this I quit stipulation, and Jack, I called the ending. I watched it and I said, here's how it could end, and that's how it ended, Jack. Because I'm like, yeah, I really want. Well, I won't spoil nothing, but let's just say, Jack, I hit the nail on the head, and I've been watching this stuff for too long.
All right, well then let's not waste any more time and get right into it, sir. We start off the night with the very first match being, what is their official? The Brawling Brutes versus Imperium.
In a good old-fashioned Donnybrook.
I had no clue what all that meant when they had announced the match stipulation, but then in my head I was just like, it's probably going to be a ton of like props signaling their European descent. We'll see, and there was just a ton going on.
Oh, a ton.
Yeah. So, what were your thoughts not only on the build to the match, sir, but the match itself?
A Donnybrook, by definition, is a scene of uproar and disorder, a heated argument.
Interesting.
I was really into this match. Not to bury the lead, but I walked away from this one thinking it was match of the night.
Yeah, I felt very similar with it, and I really kind of loved this sort of the way that they got to this point, where they had obviously the first match between Gunther and Sheamus, at Clash at the Castle, and then they had another match for that Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown, where Imperium obviously cost Sheamus the title using the shillelagh, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And then, you get to this point and you're like, okay, do they give the Brawling Brutes the win? Do they give Imperium the win? How does this work,
Yeah, this is another, it could go either way. Ton of guys have, big old spots. Butch, moonsault off of the barrels.
Yeah. And then you had you know, they mentioned it because that match, I think, between Gunther and Sheamus happened on that Friday, the day before.
Correct.
And here they are again, and you just see when he goes to chop Sheamus, you still see those scars from just the match the day earlier.
Hey, Sheamus was super duper over with the Philadelphia crowd, and I knew it was Philadelphia because I had to look and know who's showing up to cheer so loudly for Sheamus. He could be Roman with that kind of energy behind him.
Yeah, and it just kind of goes to show the work they've been putting in with this storyline. And then, like, the biggest takeaway is that compare from the start of the year to now, just how important that Intercontinental Championship feels because of the matches and the storylines these two have had. Like, they've truly made it feel like a big deal that, you know, people are willing to go to war just over that championship.
A lot of easy little things that we don't take for granted. Booking team does. Having it on TV. Having somebody like show affection for it. And having somebody show a desire for it. Just saying.
What were some other spots that stood out to you, sir?
I think we got what's the Razor's Edge to Gunther on the announcer table.
Yeah, that caught my dad by surprise because he was like, "Oh wow, they're taking that table out already," and then he goes, "I wonder how long it'll take them for them to rebuild it, and if it'll show that it's because there's gonna be a spot again, like in the future with it." And then by the next match, it was rebuilt.
The very next match is true.
I'm trying to remember some other stuff. Obviously, they brought out the shillelagh again, and it was funny because I saw it snapped in two when they hit. I think it was Sheamus with it. And then when I saw they brought it back, I was so confused. I was like, wait, how are they using that? They snapped it in two, and that's when the spot happens later where all three men then have the shillelagh and start beating on Imperium with it.
When it cracks, Corey Graves on commentary goes, "I promise you people that it's not corked." He just hit him that hard with it.
Yeah, that was a pretty insane spot too. And then, you get the final moment where Sheamus hits the bro kick to Vinci, and they gets the win for the Brawling Brutes.
Look at that. The Brawling Brutes get the win. Gunther looks strong in defeat because he wasn't pinned.
Yeah. Really good match from these three. Really, kind of in a sense, stole the show.
Their celebration on the way up the ramp. All of them, like, shoulder to shoulder, going banger after banger after banger.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. And, a lot of people after this match and after the previous two are looking forward to seeing does this continue and Sheamus gets a third match. But I don't quite think he gets a third match. Maybe he could. But with, I forget what comes first. I think the Saudi event comes first before Survivor Series.
Series.
I just think...
I think it's too early to beat Gunther,
Yeah, that's
Sheamus,
how I'm feeling.
Sheamus is, super hot. I mean, maybe, he challenges Roman or something, for a throwaway Rumble match,
Yeah.
To keep him busy. Golly, yeah, this is such a good and fun match. This was so fun.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same where I'm just like, I don't think it's quite time for Gunther to have that title taken off of him, and you don't really want to hand Sheamus 3 back-to-back title losses. Mm-hmm. Which is why I think they get the win here to still give him some, momentum and credibility.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we move on to our next match, which is the SmackDown Women's Championship match, which has champion Liv Morgan defending against Ronda Rousey in an Extreme Rules match. Sir, how did you feel about this one?
Not as woeful as previous matches between these two because of the weapons involved. I think Morgan's way out of her weight class here, right? But with the promise of Extreme Rules, that might even things out, maybe, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, and that was kind of the big story going into it was I guess Ronda, in a sense, was oh, Liv can't be extreme and all that. Or people, in general, were just kind of Liv can't be extreme. And so, she had to go through and, prove it that way. And, I as far as, the match quality, it wasn't obviously one that I enjoyed as much as per se the last match or others on the card. But I
Yeah.
did enjoy the story that they told, where it's like the entire time Ronda was trying to entice her into using the weapons and all that, and making it seem like it was going to be a battle of using the weapons and the Extreme Rules stipulation. But by the end of it, she fools her by using her martial arts sort of background and MMA background.
Yeah, I think another story too was like, if anyone doubted that Liv had it in her to do what it takes to win, like, she does. And you're like, yeah, no, I was definitely convinced of that throughout the match. You know what I mean? Like the what's it called, the senton on the table.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, we did it. We didn't think we had it in us to do it, and we did it. And like, a couple of those bat shots, the shots of the baseball bat, like some of them look kind of soft, but like, Jack, you ever hit yourself even soft with a baseball bat?
Yeah.
It hurts. Like, what was funny too? Like, they were swinging that chair like they weren't going to be yelled at by a 78-year-old man for swinging the chair incorrectly.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there was a couple of times where you're looking at the bad shots and you're like, those could be better. But then there was other times where it's like, okay, they probably know that people are thinking that, because at one point even it even left a mark on Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
And then it was funny when Ronda was using her black belt on Liv. I forgot, what did my dad say? He said something like he was questioning like what material was it made out of, I guess, for it to be like making the sound that it was.
Oh, interesting. Didn't cross my mind. But Liv sneaks out of that and smashes Ronda's face into like the corner or the apron. And you're like, I think she can get away with this. Just like we've talked about before already, though. Does Ronda lose to Liv like 3 consecutive times?
Yeah, definitely. That was one thing. Like, it could have been a story, but like at the same time, a lot of people were like, it doesn't really make sense. Even with the extreme rule stipulation, it doesn't make sense to make Ronda lose 3 times. Yeah, so Ronda wins the belt back, as I mentioned. She puts her into a submission, and to protect Liv in a way, she doesn't tap. She just passes out to the submission.
What'd you make of her smile as she passes out?
Seems very apparent of either a heel turn or at least a more aggressive side to her character. But the way I saw someone described it that I kind of very much agreed with, and it was that this entire time we've never had a clear view in a way on what Liv Morgan's character is, or what character traits and aspects she's had. Yeah. A lot of people in a sense have rooted for her because she seems like an underdog. People see like her working to improve, but like that's about it. Is that people kind of look at her and go, yeah, I'd want to see her succeed because she's putting in the work and she seems like an underdog. But character wise, there's never been a clear view on what it is, and so this could be a way to establish that.
Yeah, I hear you. I also would like to see more development, from the former Riot Squad member, who I think has been for the longest time just the last remains of a group gone bygone, or she's the relic of a group that's been gone for a long old time. Yeah,
and it's gonna be an interesting sort of couple of months to see where now.
Funny? She's like Roman Reigns post Shield.
Very true, very true. Wait, it's going to be interesting to see what the next couple of months look like, both for Liv and Ronda, because there's a lot of different routes they can take with her reign.
Yeah, and you'll never guess whose name started coming up in the news. Like she's shaping up for a return.
I heard about those as well. The rumors that Becky Lynch to return, and for those two to have a match 1-on-1 at WrestleMania.
I wasn't talking about no Becky Lynch.
Oh, I didn't hear about that then.
I'm talking about she who shall not be named. Or, hold on. She who shall not be named.
Oh, gosh. Even worse.
Yeah, let's root for Becky. Becky, get well soon.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't even think about that. I was more so worried about she who shall not be named showing up on Raw to challenge the Raw Women's Championship. Or for the Raw Women's Championship.
Who's your can't be named?
The same one that you mentioned.
Yeah. They don't want her on any of these shows.
And I'll explain further why I thought that, but until we get to that match,
yes.
We'll move to the next one, which is the match you said you were excited about because of its build. Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross in a strap match.
It started so good, Jack. Karrion Kross he's mean, and he doesn't put the strap on right away. He's not Drew McIntyre. Everyone's, clean face, baby face. I follow the rules. And Scarlett just gets in a little bit, and then bam. There's a big old fight, Jack, a big old brawl outside for, 5 or 6 minutes before the match even starts, because it starts officially when Drew, the babyface hero, locks him into the strap.
Yeah,
that was a great way to start that match.
Yeah, I really like that sort of beginning, and I just kind of found it funny how the ref didn't know exactly what to do every time Kross was like throwing the strap down, like, no, I'm not gonna put it on, and she was like, you have to, and he's just like, no, I'm not gonna do it.
Mm-hmm. And the commentators on point this night to say, oh, he's staring a hole into Drew McIntyre, just making him madder and madder.
Yeah, and the only thing that kind of confused me, and I guess it's because it varies on, I guess, the type of stipulation, but it's always confusing to me when the strap match sort of follows different sort of rule sets depending on what variation they're going for, I guess, and they never kind of clearly state, like, there's the strap match where to win you have to tap all 4 corners, but then you get strap matches like this where it's just pinfall or submission, they're tied together or tethered together.
Yeah, I hear, and I think they shouted both out. They were talking about the history of the strap match, and Sting gets a name drop. They're like, Sting Vader. I hear they've had a pretty good strap match or two, right? And they go, Rock Austin. And did they shout out JBL and Eddie Guerrero? Because that's one that, you got to hit all the corners, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't remember if that stipulation with the 4 corners has a specific name,
Yeah, like a Texas bull rope match.
Yeah. That was definitely like one I was trying to think of, like if there's a specific name for whenever those specific matches happen. But yeah, but I guess they follow the same lineage and just, it depends on which rule set they want to go with. Because it was the same thing for when The Fiend Bray Wyatt faced off against Daniel Bryan at Rumble 2020, where it was a strap match, but it wasn't touch 4 corners. It was just pinfall or submission.
Right. Got it.
But
what did you think of the match, sir?
I thought it was a pretty good match, especially, seeing, 2 men of, I guess you could say, similar stature go off against one another. The only thing that I just was kind of iffy about was just, because you brought up the dilemma earlier where it's like, does Drew win because he really needs the win after Clash at the Castle? Does Kross win because he really needs it more because this is his first feud? And that's why my dad, when they were making their entrances, my dad was like, I don't really know about this match because I feel like this is kind of like a tough situation where Kross should have had a different first feud before this.
Yes,
Like, he should have had a feud during the build-up to Clash at the Castle and maybe even a bit after with someone.
Yeah, he was feuding with the number 1 contender.
Yeah. So my dad was like, I feel like there should have been a better first opponent to maybe showcase Kross before getting to this Drew match. Like, have his first feud be with a guy like Ricochet so you can have that difference in wrestling styles be demonstrated.
And wrestling style.
Yeah. But
I thought they were, they painted themselves in a corner, and I thought they got themselves out of it beautifully. The answer is Scarlett Bordeaux. I could hear your dad echo in the winds Saturday night, in the Filipino town area. I could hear, why does a guy that size need this gal to be helping him win matches?
Yeah, so as the match comes to a close, Scarlett steps in and she pulls out pepper spray on Drew McIntyre. And
sure does.
To really sell it, she kept that thing going for a while.
Yeah. I guess the fireball, Jack, like that they used on SmackDown, didn't work.
Yeah, I saw that where it went like
and
right
I heard
past
in an
him.
interview that like Drew, like to make up for it, like he didn't sell the fireball.
Yeah,
the fireball clearly didn't work. He didn't fall to the ground covering his eyes. He says, "Hey, go for the low blow. That way, you know they can like leave on a better note, right?" So somebody must have said, "What's more dependable than a magic fireball?"
yeah, very good sort of.
But there are other spots where she's more like she plays a bigger role than like some people do in the corner. She's just getting in Drew's face, and he's like, "Get out of my face!" And by the time he's like stared at her, Cross is like, "Oh, pull you into the corner!" Bam.
Yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of the character work they were doing, and a lot of how Scarlett was demonstrating, as you said, more than other sort of managers or heels have shown in the past.
My one hang-up of the match, this is like a big enough hang-up for me to name it here, Jack. Karrion Kross, this is very heels heel, right? This is like I'm a mean old man who cheats, right? The crowd are booing him. I don't know if you caught this, Jack. Did you see him with his finger like conduct the music to his ears? That is the booing.
I didn't hear that, or I didn't see that. I didn't catch that.
It's real cliche and cringy and not, it's like, and like, I think I feel worse about it because Wardlow's like gimmick is like Symphony of Destruction, right?
Yeah.
So Karrion Kross is out there going, yes, music to my ears. And I'm like, ugh, you should have kept you the bald fallen prey guy, not this I have hair. I have hair and a girlfriend guy.
But yeah, so Kross gets the win. He beats Drew. Drew gets protected. And I kind of just wonder, does the feud continue or do we move on for a different opponent to Kross? Because Kross has kind of always been that guy where, at least from what we saw down, especially like in NXT, other than Balor,
Yeah.
he doesn't do like more than one match with the guy,
Uh-huh.
Like he really moves on and he really kind of plays up that heel gimmick of like, or he plays up the heel trope of, I already beat you. You don't get another match out of me,
in a different time, we would have seen the two of them on opposite sides of a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match where the teams are all matched up of different stories.
Yeah, but the times are different, aren't they?
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, times are different. Was the announcement made by the time Clash at the Castle happened? I don't think so, right?
What?
The whole I don't think we were able to cover that because it happened over the period from here to Extreme Rules. But when they announced that Survivor Series would now have War Games taking place at the event,
this is true. An exciting way of getting people talking about the November tradition. And this YouTube channel I watch, they keep booking the War Games match. They keep like, is it going to be Bloodline versus somebody? Is it going to be Damage Control versus a group of people? And they even got them to say, maybe it's Imperium versus the Brawling Brutes. I'm like, stop putting anybody in the stupid thing. Then we could definitely see Team Drew versus Team Kross.
Yeah, it's funny. People heard War Games was coming back, and they were like, "Oh, it's gonna be the end of the brand warfare stuff." But then watch, as you said, watch there be Team Drew versus Team Kross, or watch there be Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, just in War Games this time.
Oh no! Occam's razor. The answer was staring at me in the face.
I can't wait for the main event to be Roman Reigns versus Roman Reigns.
You mean the Raw champion versus the SmackDown champion?
Yeah. But speaking of Raw's championship, our next match was for the Raw Women's Championship between champion Bianca Belair versus Bayley in a ladder match.
The first time the Raw Women's Championship has been defended in a ladder match.
Very first time. Yeah, that is yeah. It is the first time, and I think they brought up that like Bailey has like a history of participating in stipulation matches, and
Yeah,
it
she
was
certainly has, right?
yeah, and I can't remember. I think they specifically cut out her match that she had with Alexa Bliss and that kendo stick on a pole match or whatever it was.
Mm,
I thought that was funny that like they were naming all these other ones, and then if they did bring it up, they were like very quick to pass by it because they were like, "Oh yeah, we remember what the fans and what the wrestlers involved really thought of that match."
yeah, we don't talk about Bruno.
Well, what were your thoughts on this match there?
Um, it was good. Like there's a lot of spots. It's funny. So there's a lot of spots to like shout out, like Bailey's running elbow into Bianca, who's lying prone across a ladder that was propped up on the guard, the audience partition and the stairs. But all that to say, we got ourselves a good old fashioned Bailey match. I've missed them dearly with their contrived spots and their long setups. They like to be creative.
Yeah, they like I have to appreciate it because in an industry that's seen probably hundreds of these match stipulations over the years, you kind of want to be creative while also trying to really struggle and think, man, because there's been so many, how do you essentially rewrite the wheel?
It's true. I think too, like Bianca, like using her hair as a weapon, like that's another way of making this ladder match unique, right? Bailey starts grabbing that hair, and she's like, "Oh no, you don't!" Slap, slap, whip, and you're like, "Oof!" It sounds so painful every time.
Yeah. Um, it was funny because speaking back to the Drew and Karrion Cross match, when this match was happening, they were making their entrances. My dad goes, "Hey, you want to know why Io and Dakota aren't by Bailey's side? Because they're gonna come out later in the match."
Oh my! It's funny because it's true.
And funny enough, I didn't know that on Raw, they had taken out Alexa and Asuka, so they were playing up, hey, if Damage Control does play a part in tonight, Bianca has nobody.
Yeah, and like I was frankly a little surprised that she didn't have anybody. Like, yeah, sure, you beat up two face wrestlers, but surely there's somebody else. No, I guess not. I guess they're all, if they weren't beat up on Monday, they were already beat up.
Yeah, that's how I felt, because my dad was like, oh, maybe Becky returns if she's, fully healed and cleared by now. She returns to help her out, or especially because she was there to help her out at SummerSlam when Damage Control first debuted. Even the theory of, oh, well, since she needs two people to help her, do Sasha and Naomi return? Or, just like a bunch of things that people, including my dad and I, were just trying to think, well, because of how much they were playing it up, that's why we were really thinking, like, who could the two people be that would come to help Bianca defend herself against damage control if it provides to be a 3-on-1 attack?
Mm-hmm.
And, there's more spots in the match, but funny enough, what help did she need? None, because she's the EST.
Yeah, she really does a number on the whole team.
Yeah, they came out and my dad was like, oh, yeah, here they come and all that. But then out of nowhere, you just see her start fending off Io and Dakota. And then she really tried to go. I think the issue was Bianca was really confused on what way Io was facing.
Right.
When she tries to go for the double KOD, because she looked like she could have done it. Obviously, she could. But like the way she was doing it, it was going to be they're facing two separate ways. And that's what made the spot really look convoluted in a sense. Because it was like she kept trying to figure out. And by the time she did, she had already been holding up Dakota for all that time. And so it's like as soon as she grabbed Io, she was like, okay, just screw it. And went real quickly. Like she didn't even walk around with the two of them.
She made the best of it for sure.
Yeah.
It looked as good as it ever was. But like it was exactly the spot that John Cena did with Edge and Big Show.
Yeah.
the double FU, right, or the double attitude adjustment, but they have the benefit of Edge and Big Show facing John Cena, so you can see where you're supposed to be. The KOD starts with the people on Bianca's shoulders facing away from her, so nobody's looking at where they're going.
Yeah, yeah.
I need to propel myself backwards onto your shoulders as perfectly as I can. They made it look all right.
Yeah, another spot I forgot to bring up was Bayley using a piece of her knee brace to attack Bianca. And then after that double KOD, Bayley comes in, and attacks Bianca, and then she gets her under the ladder. And the spot obviously is to show off Bianca Belair's strength, but it was just kind of funny because when she placed the ladder, you just kind of look and you're like, she could easily slip out from under that.
Being as thin as she is, right?
Yeah, especially when you see her slide herself more up so she can get the momentum to push it up. My dad looks and goes, well, why not just slide out the full way?
Brr.
But yeah, she uses that. She pushes Bayley off the ladder, and then she climbs up and she retains in a really good match for the most part.
Yeah, and the crowd were split for this one. You had some Bayley chants and you had some Bianca chants.
Yeah, and so she retains. She took control she basically took control and completely wiped out all three members of Damage Control on her own. And it really shows that, they're putting all of their stock into Bianca to really building her up, as we've seen these past, 2-3 years almost.
So we can knock her down. I hear where you're going, Jack. We're building her up so we can bring her down. Because with this win, Jack, she has the unprecedented distinction of beating 75% of the 4 horsewomen. And there's one left standing. That wouldn't even give her the time of day when they were together in NXT.
Yeah, I brought it up to my dad as soon as she won. I was like, well, I know she's beaten Bayley in the past before, but after beating her here, even with a faction to help her out, after beating Becky twice, after beating, who else did she beat? After beating Sasha, I think she beat Sasha only once, which was at WrestleMania, if I remember correctly. There's only one left, and I was like, you might as well call her the Horsewoman Killer, but then again... I was like, but then again, we got one more, and what are the chances of that one more actually taking the 1, 2, 3 for Bianca?
Goodness gracious.
And funny enough, in that night, they aired a sort of vignette for Charlotte as one of their, we're not going to show you commercials, but we're going to have our own sort of designated commercials that also serve as vignettes. I know what you mean. And so we saw that, and my dad was just like, oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh. As my niece would say, I'm scared.
Yeah, no telling what happens, especially if and when she makes her return, what brand it'll be on. But,
Well, I'll take a Bianca Charlotte match if it avoids a Charlotte Ronda match.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, sir. But we have about 6 minutes remaining in this episode and 2 more matches to cover and, something at the end. But what do you think, sir?
Oh, I think we because we don't have just 2 matches, Jack. We have 2 matches and a big reveal. We got to figure out what this White Rabbit is all about.
Yeah, and unlike Dominic, we are not able to get information out at light speed.
What do you mean about Dominic?
There have been many times on an episode where I go, all right, Dom, we have about 3 minutes left, and he just starts rapid firing all his thoughts.
Really?
One time we were doing a tier list, and I was like, all right, Dom, well, we got 4 items left that we need to rank, and there's 3 minutes, and he's like, I got this. And then he just started ranting off all his stuff and his thoughts and his rankings, and then we get to the 1 minute mark, and he's like, all right, but that's my tier list, and I go, well, I guess I need to be as fast as that, even though I can't be.
I got you. Wow, okay. So, Nope, we can't be a Dom. But maybe with like a minute, Jack, before Saturday night. A lot of people think they know who the White Rabbit is, but I saw some speculation or some jokes, some trolls having a good time, positing what else it could be in a company that's let us down before. Jack, did you hear or see anything, any speculation of the White Rabbit being anything other than who it turned out to be?
I heard someone trying to say it was Baron Corbin because we haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah. How about a Ryback putting a little White Rabbit in his Twitter name?
Oh, man. And not only that, it was seeing people trying to speculate, like, faction-wise, not only before the manner, but after. And it was just some of the names these people were throwing out was hilarious to me. The funniest one had to be the fact that the White Rabbit was going to be Adam Rose making his return.
Or how about somebody who was like, y'all are really excited until you find out Charlotte's the White Rabbit.
Oh, gosh. Could you have imagined?
I can. That's what's scary.
But with that being said, we'll finish up here. We'll see you in a part 2 where we finish covering Extreme Rules, where we have Edge versus Finn Balor in an I Quit match. Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins in a Fight Pit match. And then, of course, the big reveal of who the White Rabbit turns out to be. But until then, thank you all for joining for this episode. We'll see you in part 2.